Good evening, I'm Andrew Chang.
And I'm Adrian Arsenault. Tonight, growing demands that Donald Trump lose his presidency right now.
The Congress may be prepared to move forward with impeachment.
Removal by cabinet, by Congress. We'll go through the options and the odds.
Next summer's Black Lives Matter. They got tanks rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Why yesterday's police response was so different than during protests over racial injustice.
It is nerve-wracking. They're turning people away because they don't have the right documentation.
The challenges of complying with new travel rules.
And remembering the victims of a Canadian tragedy in Iran.
He would have made a real difference in this world.
What's changed exactly 1 year later? This is The National. Well, if yesterday was all about the chaos in Washington, today is dominated by the consequences for police, rioters, politicians, and the president himself.
After supporters of Donald Trump swarmed, then stormed the U.S. Capitol building, some now say the president needs to go. And not just in 13 days when Joe Biden is sworn in. Top Democrats and some Republicans want Trump removed now, declared unfit for office. The 25th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution allows for a president deemed unfit to be removed from office, though Mike Pence and Trump's cabinet would need to be on side. But if they aren't, Democrats say they have a backup plan. And they all think about it tonight. Donald Trump himself stepped in front of a camera. Katie Simpson starts with his message.
Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem.
It took the president more than 24 hours to clearly denounce the chaos his supporters unleashed. In a pre-recorded video statement, Donald Trump finally acknowledged a new administration will soon be in office, claiming he will commit to a smooth transition of power.
We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored.
This will likely do little to quiet growing calls for Donald Trump to be removed from office, calls that are even coming from members of his own party.
The president is unfit, and the president is unwell, and the president must now relinquish control of the executive branch voluntarily or involuntarily.
What happened on Capitol Hill yesterday is a direct result of his poisoning the minds of people with the lies and the frauds.
The vice president is under pressure to invoke the 25th Amendment. Mike Pence would need to get a majority of cabinet to support the move, but reports suggest he's already said no.
If the vice president and the cabinet do not act, the Congress may be prepared to move forward with impeachment. We are in a very difficult place in our country as long as Donald Trump still sits in the White House.
There are concerns that Trump's supporters will become even more emboldened if their leader is ousted before his time is up. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton says that's his fear.
We ought to bear in mind the adage, do no harm, because you can make this worse if we're not careful.
With just 13 days left, longtime members of the president's inner circle are now jumping ship. His transportation secretary and his education secretary both quit. So did the First Lady's chief of staff, and his special envoy to Northern Ireland, who once served as his chief of staff, resigned too. The last allies standing are trying to stop the bleeding, pleading with staff to stay on, urging Trump to think about his legacy.
The next 2 weeks can begin to right the ship depending on how the president behaves.
So, Katie, if the 25th Amendment isn't invoked and the House does try to impeach, what are the odds of that happening in 13 days?
Adrian, it's not very likely. Given the timeline at play here and the makeup of the Senate, there are so many steps in the process. So, again, it's not really likely. Donald Trump might have something much more significant to worry about. The Department of Justice confirmed tonight it is not ruling out a possible investigation into whether he incited violence. Adrian.
All right, Katie Simpson in Washington tonight. Thank you, Katie.
Well, there are a whole lot of questions about the police response yesterday as people rushed the Capitol building, forcing their way inside. The scrutiny so intense, it's prompted resignations and a scathing comparison. Susan Ormiston takes us through it.
Hard to imagine this is the same scene as calm returned to Capitol Hill. with some obvious additions. A 2-meter-high, non-scalable fence hastily erected, going all around the Capitol. Added police presence, a lot more security, a day late. Now pressing questions about why rioters were able to storm the Capitol, completely overrunning Capitol Hill police. A former chief was blunt.
But it was a failure, and I apologize on behalf of the security people. We failed.
The current chief of the Capitol Police quit tonight without explaining why other security forces were not called up in advance. DC's Metro Police suited up into their riot gear only after an urgent call for help.
About 1:00 p.m. is when MPD was requested by U.S. Capitol to respond, and things were already pretty bad at that point.
The National Guard on standby wasn't mobilized by federal authorities till well after the breach.
Everyone knew this was going to happen. Why weren't they tracking social media? Why weren't the protesters, rioters, terrorists, why weren't they infiltrated?
Police are squabbling with protesters.
Posts on social media suggest police allowed protesters in. While that's not verified, there was a stark contrast between this and Trump's crackdown last summer on protesters, calling up the National Guard, even the military.
If tens of thousands of young, old African Americans attacked the Capitol like that, what would have happened?
Demands are growing for a deep security investigation, but none of that coming from President Trump. We are learning tonight that a Capitol police officer is on life support. 4 others have died, including a protester from a gunshot wound. Police have made about 68 arrests so far, and FBI are now asking the public for information, data, tips about some of the rioters who were inside the Capitol, who now may face some federal criminal charges. Andrew.
Right. Susan Ormiston, thanks.
Social media companies are still coming to grips with their roles in all of this. Facebook today announced Donald Trump will be blocked indefinitely, while Twitter's initial 12-hour ban has already expired. But those are just 2 platforms. Stephen D'Souza explores the growing alternative ecosystem where extremists can talk and organize.
That's our house!
The shocking images that played out across TV networks around the world were also streamed online by people who for weeks telegraphed what was coming.
This was so obvious this was happening in terms of the online chatter, in terms of the conversations and the planning that was going on, not even behind the scenes.
The crowd, she says, loosely bound by white supremacist ideology, fueled by disinformation, united by Donald Trump's false claim that the election was stolen.
We have this amalgam of neo-Nazis, of far-right groups, but also conspiracy theorists. We have, just outright Trump supporters, regardless of whether they affiliate with the far right or not.
Also in the crowd, QAnon supporters. Among them, the woman who was shot and killed by Capitol Hill police.
I'm so sick of these politicians in this goddamn state.
Experts say disinformation travels both ways, between the internet fringes and mainstream politicians. So while Donald Trump may be banned from major platforms, there's still a large media ecosystem pushing lies about voter fraud.
For millions of people, kind of normalized a sense that this election had been stolen from them and then empowered them, in fact, incited them to act upon that.
We don't know if Antifa's out there.
That ecosystem, which includes mainstream broadcasters like Fox News, is now trying to rewrite history, blaming left-wing infiltrators, again, without evidence.
And there are some reports that Antifa sympathizers may have been sprinkled throughout the crowd.
I can't even find the right words to explain how absurd that is. We have every indication that this represented a real toxic mix across the far-right spectrum.
The lesson experts say disinformation and homegrown extremism must be taken seriously, especially with the inauguration still to come. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Calgary.
Okay, we've got a lot more on this story in about 10 minutes, including a look at who was in the mob and how they were treated by police.
Well, safe to say, we expected a pandemic surge after the holidays, but the speed of it still astonishing. especially in Ontario, where the daily case count broke new ground at 3,519 new cases today. The number of reported deaths, 89 today, also a record. COVID hospitalizations in the province have jumped nearly 50% since Sunday, and several other provinces are seeing the crush in ICUs with no sign of relief.
Number one priority is not to put our kids in jeopardy, and I will never do that, especially at the rates we're seeing.
Now, the surge in cases has pushed Ontario to extend online learning for elementary students in the southern part of the province. The Premier says 1 in 5 COVID tests for Ontario kids under the age of 13 are coming back positive. 1 in 5. Schools in the region were set to reopen for physical classes on Monday, but will now remain closed until January 25th. And both BC and Alberta extended their existing pandemic restrictions today. Officials in Alberta say rules introduced in December will remain in place for at least 2 more weeks. Those schools are expected to resume in-class learning on Monday. British Columbia extended its ban on events and social gatherings until February 5th. Now, with the amount of community spread happening in Canada, the last thing the country needs is additional cases from abroad. And so federal measures kicked in today that bar returning travelers from entering the country unless they can show a negative COVID test. As Carolyn Dunn shows us, that has made traveling during a pandemic a whole lot more complicated.
Welcome to Canada. Show us your negative COVID test. Effective today, it's required to enter the country, even for essential travelers. Lorene Smith's test took longer than her husband, leaving them concerned about making it to her mother-in-law's funeral.
It is nerve-wracking. And then we're at the airport this morning, and it's like, well, they're turning people away because they don't have the right documentation.
The document is a negative PCR test for any traveler more than 5 years old. That's the one where a lab technician sticks a swab way up your nose. Todd Warren and his family are on vacation in Punta Cana. They've been struggling to find out what the right test is and where to get it.
We just thought it would have been all lined up with the airlines, and they would have told us exactly which documents were required.
But airlines say they weren't given enough time by the federal government to organize much and were denied extra time to do so.
And there is obviously going to be ongoing questions as to where tests can be provided and which suppliers of tests are appropriate.
Abani Narendra's challenge wasn't necessarily getting a test in India, it was proving he's negative.
Indian government, they do not give any report which says that it's negative. Only if it's positive, they generate a report. So we had to request the official to give us a report.
But for Rana Latif, getting her test in Cairo was a breeze.
I called the lab and they kind of actually sent somebody home to do it for me, so it was really nice. Yeah, it's pretty luxurious over there.
The new testing measures are designed to stop the increasingly contagious virus from entering the country. It's too early to judge whether the side effect will be stranding some Canadians abroad. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
Despite all the ways Ottawa is discouraging travel, airlines are doing the opposite. Aaron Saltzman shows us an industry that is making offers some travelers may not be able to refuse and risking more than just public health.
As if the lure of sun and sand isn't enough on its own, especially these days. Now, according to the Globe and Mail, Air Canada is hiring Instagram influencers to help sell Canadians on heading south. This as governments plead with people to stay home.
No one should be vacationing abroad right now. You need to take this seriously.
Leader after leader warning against the perils of non-essential travel. At the same time, airlines are doing whatever they can to get passengers back on board, offering discounts, special promotions, even buy now, pay later plans.
To do so at this point in time is completely irresponsible.
And this business professor says completely unnecessary.
Every survey we see lists the need to travel as one of the first or second things people will do once we return to pre-pandemic days.
But the government hasn't banned travel. To do so without a government bailout could jeopardize the entire industry. Meanwhile, airlines are hemorrhaging money. Passenger traffic is down more than 90%. For its part, Air Canada says, we sometimes use influencers on social networks as part of our larger marketing efforts and to reach audiences that traditional media do not penetrate. The airline didn't answer why it's doing this when governments are urging people to stay home.
We are flying off to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico for the next 10 days. We are partnering with Air Canada Vacations.
But in a pandemic, some say a campaign like this could backfire.
The airlines definitely risk a consumer backlash when they're promoting behavior that is counter to what Health Canada and other officials are recommending.
Besides, the sun and sand will still be there after the pandemic. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario has become the latest province to greenlight the NHL's plan for an all-Canadian division. The province will allow both the Leafs and the Senators to play in their home arenas this season. BC, Alberta, and Quebec had already signed on, leaving Manitoba as the sole province whose approval is outstanding. The shortened season is slated to begin next week.
Ontario, meanwhile, has received a new shipment of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. Government officials say 48,000 new doses arrived today. That means Ontario has received a total of 143,000 doses so far, with just over 72,000 of them already administered. And the Moderna vaccine has arrived in northern British Columbia. Residents of 18 remote First Nations were among the first to be vaccinated. Among them, elders hoping to lead by example for others in their communities. To date, the province says just over 5,000 Moderna doses have been distributed to remote communities.
Yesterday's assault on the U.S. Capitol was stunning for sure, but for many it also laid bare a clear double standard.
Up next, what yesterday's chaos tells us about policing and race.
Here's another example of what we see as white privilege, that you are able to be a mob and go in and take over the U.S. Capitol of the United States.
So to embrace Trump's base or not? A closer look at where Republicans go from here.
And is your smartphone built to fail?
It's almost like they build the batteries not to last.
Why it's so hard to get your devices repaired. We're back in 2.
A look at Washington, D.C.'s Capitol building, calm now from the outside the day after it was stormed. But lots of questions remain. And tonight we want to look at who was involved and how they were treated. What happened yesterday was chaotic. It was hard to get a clear sense of which groups were there and what they represented. But experts in extremism were watching, and this is what they saw.
USA! USA! Included in this were an intertwined array of extremists here in the United States.
There were several more traditional far-right groups when people think of the far right, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and the like.
Oh, there were Nazis there. There were Nazis there, adorned with shirts that said Camp Auschwitz, and other shirts that had the acronym for 6 million more.
There were militias there, the Three Percenters. Three Percenters are an American militia group.
Mike Vanderboe, who's the co-founder, 10 years ago, he's now dead, 10 years ago said we should go to Pelosi's office and break windows. So isn't that something? That's exactly what they did.
There was also QAnon there, a conspiratorial group that believes that prominent figures on the left are responsible for things like pedophilia.
It's an absurd cultish movement, but the main hero in this is Donald Trump.
So it wasn't a surprise to me to see the Proud Boys there. A men's rights organization, a male supremacy organization. We don't hear about that too much anymore. They were kind of brought to the, quote, big leagues during the first presidential debate when he told them to stand back and stand by.
But I'll tell you what.
I do think that Trump is the common denominator here.
We want Trump! We want Trump!
He's reached out to all of these elements. And in doing so, he's brought them together in a way that we haven't seen before, even just the last few months.
Those white extremists were treated far differently than black protesters were just a few months ago. That was obvious immediately to some locals in Washington. Listen to this exchange in the neighborhood of Capitol Hill. A man on his stoop and a woman in her car in a country in crisis.
I know. They really destroying our city. They're destroying the city, and it's like nobody gives a shit. Next hour's Black Lives Matter. They got tanks rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue, but they let these take over the goddamn Capitol. That's true. It makes me teary-eyed.
A very human exchange at a very dark moment. So you saw that woman wiping tears from her eyes. How many others did the same, knowing those inequities are everywhere? This image is coursing through social media feeds today. Black custodial staff at the Capitol cleaning up the mess of a white mob. Windows can be repaired, statues cleaned, the appearance of order restored, but there's no sweeping away this. From moment one, yesterday's ugliness had an added layer of bile to it. White extremists rampaging and an anemic police response. At times, apparently a friendly one, posing for selfies with rioters, assisting some down the stairs, arresting very few. That says one thing to many watching on.
Here's another example of what we see as white privilege, that you are able to come and be a mob and go in and take over just about, for a little while anyway, the U.S. Capitol of the United States.
Melanie Campbell heads the Black Women's Roundtable, says she couldn't help thinking about her own experiences. That's her being arrested at the Capitol 2 years ago.
I've been active in civil rights all my adult life. The first thing that was like, what the hell? What is going on? This issue around policing and policing reform and issues around criminal justice and injustice, it's one of the number one reasons African Americans voted.
Anyone suggesting the police response was weak because the assault was unexpected hasn't paid attention. Multiple reports say extremists have been signaling their intentions online for weeks, what they would do, when and where, all the while talking of weapons. So no, the siege was not a surprise. The police response to it fits a pattern of giving white extremists a pass.
The FBI prioritizes the investigation of environmentalists and Black Lives Matter protesters that they call Black identity extremists, when it's very clear that the amount of violence these white supremacist far-right militant groups engage in is a far more serious problem.
Remember Michigan's State House last May? Armed and intimidating, allowed to protest.
White supremacy lives here, screaming to the top of your lungs, Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
And then the response to Black Lives Matter protests in D.C. not long after.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Or almost anywhere in the U.S. The National Guard was deployed to protect the Lincoln Memorial during BLM protests in the spring. They were requested well in advance to protect the Capitol yesterday. The Department of Defense acknowledged delaying the deployment, and when they arrived, it was too late. Damage done, pattern repeated. White extremists simply assessed and treated differently from black protesters.
That shows why people were willing to walk through the Capitol and even engage in destructive behavior, vandalizing the Capitol, stealing things from the Capitol, without covering their faces. They weren't acting like burglars in the middle of the night, right? They weren't trying to hide from the cameras. Some of them were actually live streaming their activities.
And look back. 3 years ago, a black man praying in protest at the Capitol building was surrounded and arrested. It was Reverend Raphael Warnock of Georgia. He will be back in that chamber in 2 weeks as a sitting senator, someone police there will have to protect. After yesterday's siege on the Capitol by pro-Trump extremists, many are wondering what the future looks like for the Republican Party. To help us understand it all, we have Tom Nichols here, a longtime Republican, one of the most well-known of the Never-Trumpers, and over the last year, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. Welcome back again, Tom. We do need your help here, because what on earth does the Republican Party do right now to deal with Donald Trump?
I wish I had a better answer for that. Yesterday was a chance for at least some of the elected Republicans in the United States to reclaim some of their dignity and principle, but a majority of Republicans in the House voted to oppose accepting the electoral vote, along with several prominent Republican senators. And so I think the future of the Republican Party is basically going to be seeing who can try to become the next Donald Trump and see if they can capture that lightning in a bottle all over again, which I don't think is going to end very well for the Republican Party or the United States. But it looks like that's what many of them have chosen to try and do.
Is there an appetite amongst some of them, though, to just try to work around him for the next 13, 14 days?
Oh, I think that's everybody's plan, both in the Republican Party and in the White House staff itself, that these are folks that are just hoping to stay out of his way, hope that he won't tweet, that he won't post anything, that he won't say anything, that he won't want to have meetings or try some other unconstitutional, illegal, anti-American schemes. Unfortunately, that's what Donald Trump does, especially when he feels cornered and threatened. So I don't think we're anywhere near out of the woods just yet. In fact, I think it's probably going to get worse. And the Republicans are not going to escape either dealing with him or responsibility for whatever happens next.
And in terms of what does happen next, so fine, you know, afternoon on the 20th, he's not the president anymore, but 74 million plus people who supported him aren't going anywhere. So how does the party handle them?
Well, they're going to still be there, but the problem with a cult of personality is that it doesn't transfer very well once that personality is no longer in power. I think for Joe Biden's part, he needs to just get on with the job of being president. America can't keep looking to presidents for their inspiration to try to be a unified nation. I think that'll be up to the rest of us. And I think that the Republican Party needs to have a reckoning within itself. It looks like that's possible, especially given some of the pointed criticisms that Republican senators aimed at each other last night in the chamber after they returned to the Senate floor in the wake of the attack. But this is really going to be a matter for the American voters. And while it's a test of the Republican Party, I think it's a test of the American public even more.
All right, Tom, thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you.
Well, up next, 1 year after the downing of Flight 752, the search for answers continues.
We will have the latest on the investigation, how Canada is pursuing the truth, how the families are too.
And how those families are dealing with their unimaginable loss 1 year later. Welcome back. 1 year ago tonight, an Iranian military missile shot down a Ukrainian airliner. Everyone on board was killed, including 55 Canadians and 83 others with ties to Canada. While Iran has offered $150,000 to each family that lost someone on board, Ottawa's special advisor on the crash rejects it. Ralph Goodale says Iran is trying to bypass negotiations required under international law. Now, Goodale and Prime Minister Trudeau held a virtual meeting with those families today. What they all want are answers, and that means a proper investigation. Ashley Burke looks at what we know and what they're still waiting for 1 year later.
After the Ukrainian passenger jet was shot down, with 138 of its passengers bound for Canada, the Prime Minister immediately demanded accountability from Tehran.
Shooting down a civilian aircraft is horrific. Iran must take full responsibility.
But a year later, that still hasn't happened.
We are very skeptical about the Iranian process.
Iran originally denied its military shot down the plane. It bulldozed the crash site within days and delayed downloading the plane's black boxes for 6 months. Eventually, it suggested human error was to blame and said 6 people had been charged. All while victims' families in Canada who've criticized Iran have been stalked, threatened, and sent misinformation. This week, the Prime Minister's special advisor on Flight 752 says that needs to stop.
It's part of the pattern of behavior that leads a great many people to be very skeptical about Iran's version of events.
Canada has a long list of questions for Tehran, But the chair of the Transportation Safety Board hopes at least some will be answered when Iran issues its final report into the downing.
If we believe that the report is incomplete or is inaccurate in any way, we will speak up.
That's all the TSB can do. It didn't get full access to Iran's investigation and wasn't permitted to launch its own.
It's disheartening because our whole raison d'etre is to find answers, to help the families of those who've lost loved ones.
But Ottawa is trying to find answers in other ways. It's among a group of 5 nations affected who are pushing for greater accountability from Tehran. The RCMP is also helping Ukraine with its criminal investigation, and a former CSIS director is leading a forensic examination into what happened. Victims' families are doing their own detective work too.
We are kind of like fighters. Iranian regime cannot stop us seeking justice and hide the truth forever.
Javed Soleimani put his PhD on pause to focus full-time on gathering evidence like Iranian audio recordings that he's passing on to Canadian authorities. He says he's still in denial his wife Elnaz Navi died on Flight 752.
I think the moment I fully accept that Elnaz is gone forever, I don't know how I'm gonna live for the rest of my life.
What he does know, he won't stop searching for answers. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
And while that search for answers continues, families are still coping with their losses, hanging on to the memories and the love, and somehow trying to go on. Stay with us.
How do you measure a legacy born of loss? It's a question we are asking tonight as we mark the 1-year anniversary of the crash of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. 138 people on board that plane were headed to Canada. They left behind families, friends, colleagues, all bearing a loss impossible to measure. But as Janella Massa, host of Canada Tonight on CBC News Network, discovered, legacies come in all sizes.
Mohammad Abbaspour and Zahra Naqibi.
It's a weekly ritual for Marzieh Abbaspour and her husband, visiting this memorial for her brother and sister-in-law in Windsor.
We were very close. He was very supportive, and Zahra was like a sister to me.
The city built this small tribute, a bench, a plaque, and trees to honor the 5 people aboard Flight 752 that call Windsor home.
I really like the idea of trees because Zahra and Mohammed both were really fond of nature. They have fun in nature.
It reminds Marzieh of all the times they spent together, both in Windsor and back home in Iran.
My favorite memory with them was every year we had a place in Iran. It was a special place on the mountain. We had lots of fun in that place.
Shortly before his death, Mohammed had convinced Marzieh to move to Canada. Despite the loss, she has decided to stay.
You're in a new country, you came to join your brother, and now suddenly he's gone. And what has the last year been like for you?
It was very difficult for us because every place we go, we have their memories with us. It's very difficult for us.
Marzieh takes comfort in this memorial, but hopes all who come here take a moment to remember her brother and sister-in-law.
People who see this flag can know what happened to them and who they were. I miss them.
Always a kind, giving person. This is how I remember Shikufa. I will never forget that.
Dr. Shikufa Chupenajad was known in Edmonton for her generous spirit, often opening her doors to Iranian women dealing with barriers accessing medical care.
would pick up the phone with her, ask her, do you have time to see a community member, newcomer in the city? And she would say, even I don't have the time, I'll stay a little bit longer in my clinic and just bring them over and I will get them checked.
Shaista Majnia met the OBGYN years ago while fundraising for the community. Now she keeps her friend's memory alive by helping others.
For me to keep her legacy, I thought the best way is to live the life that she wanted to live, or she lived it once, and that was by the giving.
In honor of the 29 children killed aboard Flight 752,
thank you very much.
Shaista set out to help 29 families over the holidays.
Hi there.
She's now delivered donations to over 200.
Here you go. If I had the same fundraiser and she was still with us, I am 110% sure she would be the first one to donate.
It sounded like she touched a lot of lives and she helped a lot of people.
She did.
Elsa knew her teacher wanted to visit this shrine.
8-year-old Elsa Jadidi sent this memento home with her father a week before she was set to return from Iran. The third grader was killed alongside her mother, Sahar.
When I heard the yelling and screaming from teachers' area, I ran there and I was asking what's going on, and they told me, "Oh, we just think that Elsa and her mom were on that plane." I said, "No, that can't be true."
The news devastating everyone at her school in Scarborough, including the principal, Majid Asab.
Elsa used to have the most charming smile. Whenever she smiles, her smile will light up her face, and she will melt your heart. And I remember telling the mom, keep her smiling, because this world needs her smiles.
Dear Elsa, I miss you so much.
In her memory, the kids created this short video.
You were so nice and also very kind.
And the school created this award, given to a student who embodies the same qualities that made Elsa so special.
We wanted to create a lasting tribute to ensure that her amazing qualities and her memory will be celebrated, and those qualities can be recognized for many years to come.
The first recipient, 10-year-old Abbas Mohammed.
I heard that she was a good student, did good stuff. She was kind and caring.
Do people miss her in the school?
Yeah.
It is beyond unthinkable that she will no longer have the opportunity to pursue her dreams, and that her future patients have been robbed of the opportunity to be cared for by someone so dedicated and talented.
A book of tributes dedicated to young leaders who were destined for greatness.
It's heartbreaking for all of us. They were working for the betterment of the communities, and they were thinking of those who are vulnerable. They were hoping to help make changes.
Dr. Bijan Dasgabe remembers his cousin's children as highly accomplished students. Zainab Asadilari, a fierce advocate for mental health and an aspiring doctor. Her research published posthumously at 21.
At that point in time, I had this very deep passion for science.
Mohammed, an MD, PhD student, was also inspiring for his empathetic nature.
Mohammed Asadilari is being recognized for his leadership initiative.
The Canadian Medical Association posthumously awarding him for his exemplary leadership.
I have learned a lot from him. I think we get absorbed in what we do as clinicians. Along the way, we lost the passion. We forgot what's important, and the passion that he had will always be with us. He is also one of the kindest and most gentle people I know.
This book, published by their family, a chance for reflection, to ponder what could have been.
He would have made a real difference in this world, and the world is poorer for losing him.
And we have joining us from the set of her new show, Canada Tonight, Janella Massa. Janella, I'm very curious, what was your sense of what the families would like going forward? What would help them move forward?
Well, Andrew, the main thing is they don't want these victims forgotten, especially for those here in Canada. For many families, there are no graves to visit, and that's why keeping their memory alive is so important. Now, there's been talk from the Prime Minister of building a memorial, but no word on where in the country that might be. But ultimately, they also want justice. They want to know why their family members were killed and who's to blame.
And Janella, first show on Monday. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Canada Tonight airs Monday night at 8 p.m. here on CBC News Network. And really, it's a conversation about the news with Canadians. And we want to reflect contemporary Canada, diving deeper into stories of the day and touching on some stories that don't always get attention and hearing from people who don't always get a voice.
Excellent. I'm very much looking forward to it. Janella, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And welcome on board. Coming up after the break, the push to make electronic devices last longer and easier to repair. Why some experts say they are built to fail. A CBC Marketplace investigation.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast Front Burner, growing frustration over Canada's vaccine rollout and what could be done to speed it up. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. Canadians love their electronic devices, only not so much when they start to slow down or break. And according to CBC's Marketplace, that is happening a lot. In the last 5 years, 72% of Canadians say they've had a device break down. Then, as David Common explains, comes the hard part, getting them fixed.
How many Canadians face fixes like this? A tablet with a cracked screen after Marjorie Black's grandsons had a tug of war with it.
They eventually fought over it and they dropped it.
May seem like a simple repair, but at this shop they couldn't do it.
This goes to the garbage.
And Canadians feel they're facing this more. In a first-of-its-kind national survey, 4 in 10 people tell us they believe newer devices are breaking down more. And 44% of the devices didn't get repaired when they broke down.
Amazingly enough, repairs are now roughly 50% or more of the cost to replace the device.
Gay Gordon Byrne is known as a North American consumer advocate. In the pandemic, we met her on opposite sides of the Canada-US border. She says manufacturers are increasingly making devices harder to repair in order to push consumers to buy new.
They are trying to churn these things out at a very low price point, and then when something does break, it's hard to get into the device just to be able to fix it.
In our survey, more than half of devices sent to the manufacturer for repairs weren't fixed, either because the manufacturer couldn't or the owner didn't want to pay the cost.
It's almost like they build the batteries not to last.
At a repair clinic, techs troubleshoot phones with the common problem that they'd become sluggish. Devices that won't charge.
It just doesn't boot.
But even this expert repair team only managed to find a fix for 2 of 16 devices.
When you can't get them fixed, that's a real problem.
She argues provincial consumer laws need to be beefed up to push back against the tech giants, force them to make phones and other devices easier to repair, less costly too, to at least give ordinary people the option of repairing or replacing. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
So according to the Marketplace survey, which brands break down the most? Tune in tomorrow for the big reveal. That is at 8 p.m., 8:30 in Newfoundland and Labrador on CBC TV and anytime on GEM.
And next on The National, a Saskatchewan girl becomes a catalyst for change. The story behind her skirt and the movement she created. It's next in our moment. Isabella Kulak is just 10 years old, but she's become a source of inspiration for Indigenous women right across the country. Recently, she experienced some negativity for wearing her traditional ribbon skirt to school, but then there was an outpouring of support. Women across the globe started wearing ribbon skirts just like hers, and tonight, Isabella's story is our moment.
Our daughter came home after formal day.
She got home and I noticed she wasn't wearing her ribbon skirt when she walked through the door.
An EA made some comment that her skirt wasn't traditional formal attire.
I mentioned it to his sister, who's told another family member, We woke up and there's thousands of posts and shares and comments. Seeing all this stuff online with all this support, it was just really overwhelming with all the positiveness. There's people sending Isabella ribbon skirts in the mail.
There was a lot of community members that showed up, and many young ladies and their moms in their ribbon skirts, all walking in solidarity with my daughter. And she's discovered that she has a much more powerful voice than she anticipated.
I feel strong and confident.
So the clothing that she was wearing that day, I mean, represents that very thing. Strength, represents womanhood, represents identity. And I can't imagine she would have gone to school that day thinking, I'm going to be a role model for others. And yet, there she is.
Right. And so on the first day back at school, after the break, she found herself joined by a whole bunch of people. Men wearing ribbon shirts, women wearing ribbon skirts, just to sort of walk with her in every sense of the word. It's very nice.
That's great.
That is a national for January the 7th. Good night.
Good night.